Well, good morning. Another Wednesday morning, and today we're talking about lackluster days. To be sure, many of you have experienced times when you were joyous and it was peaceful and you felt wonderful, such as when you fall in love, when you get an achievement, so many things that can happen that put you on top of the world. But in a way, we deserve to be joyous at any point in our lives. And if you think about children and how they experience awe before the world gets hold of them, you will find that they have something within them that is creative and is magnificent. I think that most of us have experience with a higher power, or if not that, with your self actualized being. It is difficult to believe that there's not something greater than ourselves. I'll say that again. It's difficult to believe that there's not something out there greater than ourselves. And for anyone who has experience in the Christian, which is the tradition I come from, religion, and I don't mean religion. I wish I hadn't said that. I mean spirituality. Religion can be about dogma. It can be about old-fashioned ways of thinking about Puritanism, and we're not talking about that. We're talking about a relationship. And I'll get back to that in a minute, but it is difficult to believe that there is not something greater than ourselves. And in Christianity, we call that Trinity, which means God, Holy Spirit, and Jesus. And so most of us can relate to the spirit within. And if you have a relationship, and now I am talking about relationship or presence with that spirit within you, you really should not have many lackluster days. The relationship that you have with the spirit within you may sometimes be missing. And my idea, and others too, is that the negativity, which breeds on negativity, and we all know that. If you're negative about one thing, you tend to be negative about another thing, and it just kind of takes over. But if that negativity is working triple time, and it's just causing one after another of a negative experience, you almost can be certain that you are ready for a breakthrough, and a big breakthrough, or otherwise negativity will not be working so hard. So that's a kind of a thought that's a little bit controversial, but you might want to think about that and meditate on that a little bit. I do think that there are times when you feel disconnected with spirit, and I asked a family member what he did during those times, and he said nothing. And I thought, what a great answer that is. And if you do nothing, then I asked him if he shames himself of that. And he said, yes, I do. So we are so trained in our society to be productive, to constantly, that's my dog, my poodle. Lucy, come here. We're so trained in our societies to be productive, to be goal-oriented, to achieve. And the idea of doing nothing is considered kind of lazy. The levels of consciousness that we are beginning to realize, and Stan Grof wrote in his book called The Future of Psychology about levels of consciousness, is not new. The levels of consciousness are not new. They go back to a time when there were mystics, and mystics were able to communicate with God, and the 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 back and forth communication seemed to be a part of the mystical experience. Nowadays, if you were to communicate with God, people would call you a very prayerful person, yes. But if God were to communicate with you, uh, people might say you have a mental health problem or a pathology. So it's very good to take into account that you really don't want to talk too much about God communicating with you. And I'm not thinking that God's going to say, "Good morning, Carrie. How are you? I hope you have a joyous day." But I am talking about a relationship. And there is a little saying that I'll pass on to you. What's the difference between a schizophrenic and a mystic? And the answer is a mystic knows who not to talk to, and the schizophrenic doesn't. So that's just a little saying that goes around in the mental health field. But I I do want to encourage you to experience a relationship with your higher power, whatever that is for you, and see if that's different from knowing about your higher power. And so many times we know, say, for instance, about Christianity, everything about Christianity. People can be very, very knowledgeable, but they don't have a relationship with spirit. And so I really don't have many lackluster days. And I think that's because the world didn't give me joy, and the world can't take it away. And when you have joy from within, from that place within, the world's not going to take that away from you. That's going to be yours. And if you do get disconnected, you may pretty much be sure that you're headed for a breakthrough, and a little mercy would go a long way at that point. And so I'm going to stop there. I do want to just add before I finish that knowledge itself does not um, lead to a, a source of lackluster days. You can have all the knowledge you want, you can have read all the books in the world, and it will not keep you from having days in which you feel totally disconnected from your spirit. And it's only, I think, by that relationship that you can count on a connection with spirit. I think that I'll stop there, and know it's a very, very, very complicated and difficult subject to talk about. And it's one that you can cultivate if you feel like you want to. You don't have to have a crisis or a mountaintop experience to cultivate your relationship with your inner spirit. But as time goes on, I think we'll find more and more people are becoming aware of that as a presence, as a relationship. And so next week, we'll have a different topic. And I appreciate your listening. I think it was a bit controversial, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much.